Okay, today we're talking about integers and absolute value. So the first thing we need to remember is what the integers are. And integers are all of the whole numbers and their opposites, which are the negatives. So if I were to write it out, what it looks like, the integers are all of these numbers. Notice that I do not have any decimals or fractions in here because it's the whole numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on, and they're opposites. We always consider the negatives to be the opposites of the positives. So that's the group of numbers we're talking about. And the first thing we always want to do when we're looking at new groups of numbers is compare them. See which ones are bigger. Well, the easy way to compare two numbers is to look at them on a number line. On a number line, the larger number will always be further to the right. So if I'm comparing a negative 4 and a positive 2, the one further to the right is the positive 2. And so in this case, negative 4 is less than 2. And anytime I'm comparing a negative with a positive, the positive will always be bigger because, like I said, the one that is farthest right will be the bigger. Well, positives are always to the right of 0. Negatives are always left of 0. So any positive would be further right than any negative. And so a positive always is bigger than a negative. Now, if I have two negatives, then again, I want to remember it's on a number line. Furthest to the right. Negative 10 would be down here. Negative 1 is over here. And so I can see that negative 1 is actually bigger because it is further right on the number line. And that's the key to remember when you're trying to compare two numbers. Keeping the same thing in mind, I can order a group of numbers from either least to greatest or greatest to least. This one I'm going to order from least to greatest. So the smallest one will be actually the negative that has the biggest value. That would be furthest left on a number line. So I'm going to start down in negative 84. That'll be my smallest number. Then the next one would be the negative 51. And then I'd have negative 39. And then negative 15. And then I would have positive 8. Positive 17, and positive 73. And so that is how I put them in order from least to greatest. Now, the other thing we talked about today first was to remember that the negative sign we always think of as meaning the opposite. So if I look at a problem like this one right here, what they're asking me to find is the opposite of negative 9. Well, the opposite of negative 9 is positive 9. Okay? Now, these bars here, they have a different meaning. These bars stand for absolute value. Absolute value is the distance a number is from 0 on a number line. So in other words, negative 14 is 14 places from 0 on a number line. So the absolute value of negative 14 is positive 14. If we look up here, this is asking us to find the opposite and the absolute value of 12. Well, the opposite of 12 would be negative 12. The absolute value of 12 would be 12. Notice that the absolute value is a distance. It's a distance from 0. So absolute value will always be positive. Okay? We will never get a negative for absolute value because you cannot have negative distances. And that is all we did today on integers and the absolute value.